The Martian scrapyard was a vast graveyard of human ambition. Spanning kilometers, it housed remnants of starships that had once crisscrossed the galaxy, bearing explorers, soldiers, and settlers. Now, these colossal relics lay scattered and forgotten, their purpose long since fulfilled. To the corporations and governments of the solar system, the scrapyard was an afterthought, a convenient dumping ground. To Alex Moran, it was a second home. Alex crouched in the crimson dust, her fingers deftly prying open a rusted panel on a derelict shuttle's thruster assembly. She wiped a streak of sweat from her brow, smudging grease across her cheek. Her jumpsuit, patched and faded, bore the evidence of countless days spent scavenging. Despite the harsh environment, her green eyes gleamed with determination. Her companion, a squat, six-legged repair bot named Rig, hovered nearby. Rig was a mismatched collection of parts, its dome-like head and spindly arms a testament to Alex's skill at repurposing scrap. It chirped and beeped inquisitively, its optical sensors focused on the task at hand. "I'm almost done, Rig," Alex muttered, pulling a component free. She held it up to the pale Martian sunlight. A power regulator. Not bad. Might get us enough credits to keep the lights on another month. Rig whirred in agreement, its manipulator arms twitching. Alex glanced toward the horizon, where jagged silhouettes of broken starships loomed against the pinkish sky. Each twisted hull told a story. Of battles fought, of daring voyages, of dreams that had crumbled into dust. Alex had heard some of the stories from her parents, asteroid miners who had scraped out a meager living before the Martian colonies collapsed under corporate greed. They'd passed away years ago, leaving Alex alone with the scrapyard they had called home. She had grown up surrounded by humanity's discarded relics, learning to see not the decay, but the potential beneath. Her parents had taught her that even the most broken things could be repaired, given enough time and effort. It was a lesson she carried with her every day. Alex stood and stretched, her gaze sweeping over the field of wreckage. It was then that she saw it. Partially buried in the Martian dust was the unmistakable silhouette of a spacecraft. It was sleeker than most of the ships in the scrapyard, its angular design hinting at a military origin. The hull was battered, its once pristine surface marred by scorch marks and punctures. A large emblem, barely visible through the grime, identified it as the UNSF Resolute. Alex's breath caught. The United Nations Space Fleet had been a powerful force during the early days of humanity's expansion into space. Its ships were legends, built for speed, strength, and adaptability. But the Resolute was no ordinary vessel. It was a scout ship designed for stealth and reconnaissance during wartime. Such ships were rare, and finding one intact was almost unheard of. "Well, would you look at that?" Alex murmured, approaching the ship. Her fingers traced the faded lettering on the hull. "The Resolute. You must have some stories to tell." Rig beeped uncertainly, its sensors scanning the ship. I know," Alex said, crouching to inspect the landing struts. "It's a wreck. Probably hasn't flown in decades. But imagine what we could do with it if we brought it back to life." Rig chirped skeptically. "Oh, come on," Alex said with a grin. "Where's your sense of adventure?" The ship's condition was worse up close. One of its wings was crumpled, and the cockpit canopy was cracked. The thrusters were clogged with debris, and the dorsal plating had been stripped in places, exposing a tangle of wires and circuitry. Despite its sorry state, Alex felt a spark of hope. The Resolute wasn't just another pile of scrap. It was an opportunity. "Let's dig her out," she said, grabbing a plasma cutter from her tool belt. "We'll see what she's made of." The dig. Over the next several days, Alex and Rig worked tirelessly to excavate the ship. It was slow, grueling labor. The Martian dust was fine and clingy, seeping into every crevice and making it difficult to clear away. Alex used a combination of tools: plasma cutters, pry bars, and a repurposed mining drone that she programmed to haul away debris. The more she uncovered, the more fascinated she became. The Resolute was a marvel of engineering. Its streamlined form built for speed and agility. Its hull was constructed from a composite alloy designed to absorb radar and thermal signatures, rendering it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Even in its decrepit state, the ship exuded a sense of purpose. Inside, the ship was a different story. The cockpit was a mess, its control panels shattered, and its seats covered in a thick layer of dust. The corridors were cramped and dark, with exposed wiring hanging from the walls. Most of the systems were gutted, likely scavenged by whoever had abandoned the ship. But amid the wreckage, Alex found glimmers of hope. The AI core, housed in a secure compartment near the cockpit, was intact. She pried open the panel and examined the sleek black cylinder, her heart racing. If the core still functioned, it could provide invaluable data about the ship's history and might even help her restore it. "Hello, old friend," she whispered, cradling the core. "Let's see if you still remember how to talk." Rig beeped excitedly, its manipulators twitching. "Yeah, I know it's a long shot," Alex said, carefully placing the core in her tool bag. "But if this works, it'll be worth it." The decision. By the end of the week, Alex had fully excavated the Resolute. The ship sat on its landing struts, its battered form casting a long shadow over the scrapyard. Alex stood back, hands on her hips, and admired her work. "She's a beauty," she said, more to herself than to Rig. The little bot chirped doubtfully. "Okay, maybe not yet," Alex admitted, "but she will be." Rig tilted its dome-like head, emitting a low warble. "I mean it," Alex said, her voice firm. "This ship isn't just another piece of junk. She's special, and I'm going to bring her back to life." Rig beeped uncertainly, but Alex ignored it. She had made up her mind. The Resolute was more than just a salvage project. It was a challenge, a chance to prove herself. For years, she had scraped by, turning small finds into just enough credits to survive. But the Resolute was different. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve, even in the face of adversity. It was a piece of history, waiting to be reborn. Alex placed a hand on the ship's hull, feeling the cold metal beneath her fingers. "Don't worry," she said softly. "I'll take care of you." In that moment, Alex wasn't just a scrapper. She was a builder, a dreamer, and perhaps a warrior in the making. The Resolute sat in the heart of the scrapyard, a hulking, silent reminder of its former glory. Days turned into weeks as Alex Moran poured every ounce of her skill and ingenuity into the restoration. Her hands became calloused, her nails perpetually coated in grease and dirt. Nights were spent poring over schematics, deciphering outdated military systems, and making sense of the jigsaw puzzle that was the ship's inner workings. The most critical task was restoring the Resolute's AI core. Alex had seen cores like this before, powerful but temperamental. The cylindrical device was the brain and soul of the ship, capable of piloting, tactical analysis, and decision-making. However, it had been dormant for decades, its memory banks likely corrupted. Still, if Alex could coax it back to life, it could transform the Resolute from a derelict into a functional spacecraft. First contact. Alex sat cross-legged on the cockpit floor, the AI core spread out before her alongside a mess of tools, wires, and diagnostic equipment. Rig perched nearby, monitoring her progress. The cockpit was dimly lit, illuminated only by the soft glow of a portable lamp. The faint scent of burned circuits lingered in the air. "Okay," Alex muttered, soldering a final connection. Moment of truth. She reached for a power relay, hesitating for a brief moment. Then, with a deep breath, she flipped the switch. The core began to hum faintly, its surface flickering with pale blue lights. Alex leaned closer, her heart pounding. "Come on," she whispered. "Wake up." The hum grew louder and the lights stabilized. A voice, low and mechanical, echoed through the cockpit. "UNSF AI Core MK4. Initializing. System diagnostics. 17% functionality. Memory sectors. Partially corrupted. Identify user." Alex's eyes widened in disbelief. "It's alive," she breathed, The voice repeated, firmer this time. Identify user. Alex Moran, she said quickly. Independent scrapper. I found you in the Martian scrapyard. There was a pause, as if the AI was processing this. UNSF command is unreachable. Awaiting further orders. Yeah, about that. Alex rubbed the back of her neck. Command's long gone. The war's over. And you've been sitting here for decades. Another pause, longer this time. Then, war status. Inconclusive. Current mission, undefined. Well, I've got a new mission for you, Alex said, leaning closer. We're going to fix you up. Bring this ship back to life. The AI's voice was flat, almost dismissive. Vessel systems are compromised. Repairs unlikely to achieve optimal performance. Don't underestimate me, Alex replied, a grin tugging at her lips. I brought Worse Rex back from the brink. You just focus on running diagnostics and letting me know what you need. For a moment, the cockpit was silent, save for the faint hum of the AI core. Then, unexpectedly, the voice softened. Acknowledged. Proceed with repairs. Alex felt a surge of satisfaction. That's the spirit. A growing partnership. Restoring the Resolute was a monumental task. Alex scavenged parts from the surrounding wreckage, repurposing components that had long since been abandoned. Engines from a decommissioned cargo hauler were retrofitted to replace the ship's gutted thrusters. Damaged circuits were painstakingly rewired, their outdated design forcing Alex to improvise solutions. As the ship systems came back online, the AI grew increasingly active. It began assisting Alex, providing real-time feedback on her repairs and occasionally offering tactical advice. The partnership, though unconventional, proved effective. You possess unconventional methods, the AI remarked one day as Alex worked to recalibrate the ship's targeting systems. Is that your way of saying I'm good at my job? Alex asked, smirking. It is an observation, the AI replied. Your approach deviates from standard UNSF protocols, but demonstrates efficiency. I'll take that as a compliment, Alex said, tightening a bolt. You military types always did love your rules and protocols. Out here, we make do with what we've got. The AI's voice carried a hint of curiosity. You operate independently, yet your actions suggest a dedication to higher principles. Alex paused, wiping her hands on her jumpsuit. What's that supposed to mean? Your efforts to restore this vessel exceed mere self-interest. You seek purpose. Alex frowned, unsure how to respond. She had always thought of herself as a scrapper, someone who survived by finding value in what others discarded. But the AI's words stirred something deeper within her. Was she really just trying to survive, or was she chasing something more? Maybe, she said finally, or maybe I just hate seeing good machines go to waste. Uncovering the past. As the ship systems came online, Alex delved into the Resolute's history. Fragmented data logs revealed snippets of its past. Reconnaissance missions in contested star systems, evasive maneuvers through asteroid fields, and brief but intense skirmishes with enemy fleets. The Resolute had been a vital asset during the war, its speed and stealth making it a formidable scout. One log, partially corrupted, caught Alex's attention. It depicted the ship's final mission, a classified operation deep within enemy territory. The details were hazy, but it was clear the Resolute had encountered overwhelming resistance. Severely damaged, it had managed to escape, but had been forced to land on Mars for emergency repairs. For reasons unknown, the crew never returned. Looks like you've been through hell, Alex muttered, scrolling through the low. Mission status. Incomplete, the AI said. There was a hint of something in its voice. Regret, perhaps? Primary objective remains classified. Alex raised an eyebrow. Classified? You're really sticking to that, huh? Even though your bosses are long gone. Protocol dictates adherence to UNSF regulations, the AI replied. However, current circumstances render them less applicable. That's one way to put it, Alex said with a chuckle. She leaned back in her seat, staring at the cockpit's flickering displays. Well, whatever happened, you've got a second chance now. Let's make it count. A milestone achieved. The breakthrough came 3 weeks after Alex first powered up the AI. She had managed to restore partial functionality to the ship's engines and shield generator, enough to conduct a brief test flight. It was a risky endeavor. The Resolute was far from battle-ready, but Alex was eager to see if the ship could still fly. Engines primed, the AI reported as Alex strapped herself into the pilot's seat. Structural integrity, 62%. Caution advised. Noted, Alex said, gripping the controls. Let's see what you got. The engines roared to life, shaking the ship with a deep, guttural rumble. Dust and debris scattered across the cockpit as the Resolute lifted off the ground, hovering unsteadily above the scrapyard. Alex's heart raced as she guided the ship forward, its thrusters responding sluggishly but effectively. Flight systems operational, the AI announced. Performance suboptimal but within acceptable parameters. Alex laughed, a mix of relief and exhilaration. I'll take it. For the first time in decades, the Resolute was airborne. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close, but it was a start. As Alex maneuvered the ship over the Martian plains, she felt a surge of pride. She had taken a forgotten relic and brought it back to life. Welcome back, old girl, she said softly, her voice filled with determination. We're just getting started. The Resolute hovered silently above the Martian scrapyard, its engines emitting a low, steady hum. It was a far cry from the decrepit wreck Alex Moran had first uncovered, but there was still a long way to go. The ship had taken its maiden test flight, proving its resilience, but Alex wasn't content with functionality. She wanted strength, power, and a purpose for the ship. Her drive wasn't purely selfish anymore. Word had reached her about escalating tensions between the Martian frontier colonies and the megacorporations that ruled Earth's inner planets. The colonies were vulnerable, their people at the mercy of corporate militias equipped with cutting-edge warships. For years, Alex had avoided taking sides, keeping her head down and eking out a living. But restoring the Resolute had changed something in her. It wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol, a relic of a time when humanity's focus had been on exploration and unity rather than greed and conquest. Now, it could become a tool for resistance. The plan. Alex sat in the dimly lit cockpit, her boots propped up on the control panel. Rig hovered nearby, clicking and whirring as it processed data. The AI, which she had tentatively named Echelon, had grown more responsive over the weeks, almost conversational at times. I've been thinking, Alex began, turning to the glowing interface that represented Echelon's presence. Define parameters of thought, the AI replied in its calm, mechanical voice. Alex rolled her eyes. You've got a sense of humor buried in there, don't you? She leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. The colonies need help. They've got nothing to defend themselves with. This ship could change that. Echelon paused for a moment, its glowing interface pulsing faintly. This vessel is not optimized for direct combat. Its original design prioritized reconnaissance and stealth. True, Alex admitted, but that doesn't mean we can't upgrade it. Rig beeped skeptically, its dome-like head tilting as if questioning Alex's sanity. I'm serious, she continued, addressing both her companions. This scrapyard is full of military-grade components just waiting to be repurposed. Shield generators, weapon systems, even drones. With a little creativity, we can turn the Resolute into something formidable. Echelon responded, its tone measured. You propose converting this vessel into an improvised war machine. Such an endeavor would require extensive resources, time, and expertise. Alex smirked. Good thing I got all three. Scavenging for power. Turning the Resolute into a combat-ready ship wasn't going to be easy. Alex spent days mapping the scrapyard, identifying potential sources of salvage. Some of the wreckage was too degraded to be useful, but she discovered several promising finds. a plasma cannon from an old Earth Defense Force frigate, heavily damaged but salvageable. Missile guidance system still intact in a partially buried drone carrier. A reinforced armor plating module, designed for high-impact resistance, lying amidst the remains of a downed corporate patrol ship. A prototype EMP generator, hidden in the depths of a forgotten UNSF storage container. The scavenging process was grueling. Alex worked tirelessly, cutting through tangled metal, hauling components back to the Resolute, and modifying them to fit the ship's design. Rig proved invaluable, its small frame and dexterous manipulators allowing it to access tight spaces Alex couldn't reach. Echelon, too, became a critical partner in the process. It analyzed components, calculated power requirements, and offered solutions to integration challenges. Over time, the AI's tone grew less clinical, its personality subtly shifting as it adapted to its new role. "You're getting good at this," Alex said one evening as she welded the plasma cannon to the ship's undercarriage. "Proficiency in tactical upgrades was part of my original programming," Echelon replied. There was a hint of pride in its voice. "Well, you're outdoing yourself," Alex said with a grin. "Testing the upgrades." Weeks later, the Resolute was ready for its first combat simulation. The plasma cannon was operational, though its targeting system was rudimentary. The missile launcher had been mounted beneath the starboard wing, and the EMP generator was secured in the cargo hold. The reinforced armor plating gave the ship a more imposing silhouette, and Alex had even managed to install basic countermeasure systems to deter enemy fire. "Status report?" Alex asked as she powered up the ship. "Primary systems online," Echelon replied. "Weapons operational. Shields at 78% capacity. Structural integrity within acceptable parameters." "Good enough for a trial run," Alex said, strapping herself into the pilot's seat. She guided the Resolute out of the scrapyard and into the open Martian sky. The ship handled smoothly, its upgraded engines propelling it with newfound power. Alex brought it low over the rocky terrain, weaving between cliffs and craters to test its maneuverability. "Plasma cannon test," she announced, locking onto a distant rock formation. The cannon fired with a deafening roar, a beam of blue energy streaking across the landscape and obliterating the target. "Weapon discharge successful," Echelon reported. "Damn right it was," Alex said, grinning. She tested the missile launcher next, firing a single projectile at a rusted cargo container she had set up as a target. The missile struck true, detonating in a fiery explosion that echoed across the plains. "Missile guidance functioning within expected parameters," Echelon said. "However, targeting precision could be improved." "We'll work on it," Alex replied, banking the ship toward the scrapyard. The final test was the EMP generator. Alex activated it at low power, targeting a cluster of inactive drones she had arranged for the experiment. The generator emitted a pulse of crackling energy, and the drones flickered before shutting down entirely. "EMP generator operational," Echelon confirmed. Alex let out a whoop of triumph. The Resolute wasn't just a functional spacecraft anymore. It was a weapon. The first challenge. The transformation of the Resolute couldn't have come at a better time. News reached Alex through her limited communications network. A corporate militia was advancing on a nearby colony, demanding resources and threatening retaliation if the settlers refused. The colony had no means of defense. Alex stared at the message for a long time, her jaw tight. She had spent her life avoiding conflict, staying out of politics and wars. But now, for the first time, she had the power to make a difference. "This is it," she said, standing in the cockpit. "This is why we did all this." "Engaging hostile forces will carry significant risk," Echelon warned. "This vessel, while improved, remains outmatched by modern military craft." "I know," Alex said, "but if we don't do something, those people don't stand a chance." Rig beeped, its tone resolute. "Exactly," Alex said, turning to the control panel. "We're not just salvagers anymore. We're fighters. Let's give them hell." The Resolute launched into the sky, its engines roaring as it sped toward the colony. Alex's heart pounded in her chest, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She wasn't sure if they could win, but one thing was certain. She wasn't going to let the colonists face their enemies alone. For the first time in decades, the Resolute was heading into battle. And this time, it wasn't fighting for orders. It was fighting for freedom. The Resolute streaked across the Martian sky like a shadow of its former glory. Below, the rocky terrain gave way to the bustling colony of Redhaven, a small settlement clinging to survival against the encroaching corporate machine. Alex Moran tightened her grip on the controls, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the enemy. Incoming hostile signatures detected, Echelon reported, its voice calm but urgent. 4 vessels, classified as corporate strike craft. Weaponry includes laser turrets, missile systems, and electronic countermeasures. They will reach Redhaven in approximately 7 minutes. 4 ships, Alex muttered, her pulse quickening. We're outnumbered but not outmatched. Confidence level, unverified, Echelon said dryly. Alex smirked despite herself. Well, let's go verify it. First contact. The corporate ships came into view as the Resolute crested a ridge. Sleek, angular, and painted in the deep black and silver of Titan dynamics, they looked like predators on the hunt. Alex's scanner confirmed their configuration. 3 mid-range attack ships and a single command vessel bristling with weapons. Targets acquired, Echelon announced. Engage or retreat. Engage, Alex said firmly, flipping switches on the control panel. The plasma cannon hummed to life, its targeting system locking onto the nearest attack ship. Opening salvo, Alex said, pressing the trigger. The plasma cannon fired with a brilliant flash, a bolt of energy streaking toward the enemy craft. The shot struck its shields, which flared and shimmered before collapsing under the impact. The ship veered off course, smoke trailing from its engines. Direct hit, Echelon confirmed. Target shields at 12% capacity. Not bad for an old relic, Alex said, banking the Resolute hard to avoid incoming fire. The remaining attack ships opened fire, their lasers slicing through the air. Alex pushed the Resolute into a series of sharp maneuvers, narrowly evading the onslaught. The reinforced armor absorbed a glancing blow, the cockpit shuddering but holding firm. Shields at 65%, Echelon reported, recommending deployment of countermeasures. Deploying, Alex replied, flipping a switch. The Resolute released a burst of chaff and flares, confusing the enemy's targeting systems. One of the attack ships veered too close, and Alex seized the opportunity, launching a missile directly into its underbelly. The explosion lit up the sky, and the ship disintegrated in a fiery blaze. Second hostile neutralized, Echelon said. The command ship hung back, analyzing the battle with cold precision. Alex knew it was a real threat. Its advanced weaponry and tactical systems made it a formidable opponent, and it was undoubtedly coordinating the attack. We need to take out the big guy, Alex said. Analyzing tactical options, Echelon replied. Recommendation: disable command ship using EMP generator. Direct assault is ill-advised. Agreed, Alex said. She turned the Resolute toward the remaining attack ship, baiting it into a chase. The nimble craft followed, firing intermittently as Alex led it toward the command vessel. EMP generator charging, Echelon announced. Keep them busy, Alex muttered, weaving through the sky to avoid enemy fire. The Resolute darted past the command ship, its thrusters burning bright. Alex glanced at her display, watching as the EMP generator's charge meter climbed. EMP at 92%, Echelon reported. Almost there, Alex said, her knuckles white as she gripped the controls. The pursuing attack ship came too close, its pilot overestimating their ability to maneuver. Alex rolled the Resolute, flipping the ship upside down and firing her plasma cannon point blank. The attack ship exploded, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. EMP ready, Echelon announced. Let's do this, Alex said, turning the Resolute back toward the command vessel. The strike. The command ship unleashed a barrage of missiles as the Resolute approached. Alex activated the countermeasures again, the ship shuddering as a few missiles detonated dangerously close. Shields at 42%, Echelon warned. Just hold together, Alex said through gritted teeth. She brought the Resolute within range, her fingers hovering over the activation switch for the EMP generator. The command ship's weapons locked onto her, and she knew she only had one chance. Now, she shouted. The EMP generator discharged, releasing a wave of crackling energy. The command ship's lights flickered, its engine sputtering as the pulse overwhelmed its systems. Alex pulled the Resolute away, watching as the massive vessel began to drift, its weapons falling silent. Command ship disabled, Echelon confirmed. Remaining threat level minimal. Alex let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. We did it. Aftermath. The battle was over, and Red Haven was safe, for now. Alex guided the Resolute back toward the colony, its battered frame limping but victorious. The settlers emerged from their shelters, cheering as the ship touched down in the central square. A tall, weathered man approached the cockpit as Alex stepped out. "Name's Carter," he said, extending a hand. "I run things here. We owe you our lives." Alex shook his hand, her exhaustion giving way to a sense of pride. "Glad I could help." "We don't have much," Carter said, "but you'll always have a place here. If you hadn't shown up—" "Let's not think about that," Alex said, cutting him off. "A new purpose." Later, as Alex sat in the cockpit, gazing out at the stars, she couldn't help but reflect on what had just happened. The Resolute had proven itself in battle, and she had found a purpose beyond survival. "You performed admirably," Echelon said, breaking the silence. "So did you," Alex replied, a faint smile on her lips. "What is our next objective?" Echelon asked. Alex leaned back in her seat, her mind racing with possibilities. "There are more colonies out there, more people who need help. I think it's time the Resolute became more than a war machine. Let's make it a symbol of resistance." Rig beeped enthusiastically, and Alex couldn't help but laugh. "All right, team," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Let's get to work." The Resolute lifted off once more, its engines blazing as it soared into the Martian sky. The war machine had found its cause, and Alex Moran had found her place in the stars. The Resolute became a name whispered among the Martian colonies, a beacon of hope in the shadow of corporate tyranny. Word spread of a lone ship that had stood against the Titan Dynamics strike team and won. It wasn't long before Alex Moran found herself at the center of something much larger than she'd anticipated. A growing resistance movement desperate for a leader. A call for help. Alex sat in the cockpit of the Resolute, staring at the communication feed. The messages had been pouring in over the past few weeks. Colonies across Mars and the asteroid belt were reaching out for assistance, their pleas tinged with desperation. Message received from Borealis Station, Echelon reported. They report corporate forces are blockading their supply routes. Their survival timeline is estimated at 14 days without intervention. Alex sighed, running a hand through her hair. "That's the third one this week. We can't be everywhere at once." "Your statement is accurate," Echelon replied. "However, strategic prioritization could maximize our impact." Alex leaned back, her eyes wandering to the stars. She had started this journey alone, but it was becoming clear that if she wanted to make a difference, she needed help. "Time to build a team," she said, her voice firm. "Recruiting allies." Alex's first stop was Rust Point, an independent outpost known for attracting misfits, smugglers, and ex-military types who didn't fit into the corporate mold. If there was a place to find skilled people willing to fight, this was it. The Resolute touched down on the dusty landing pad, its newly patched hull glinting under the harsh sun. Alex stepped out, flanked by Rig, whose glowing optics scanned the area for threats. The outpost was a chaotic mix of market stalls, repair shops, and makeshift barracks. Alex made her way to a crowded cantina, drawing curious glances as she entered. "I'm looking for fighters," she announced, her voice cutting through the din. "People who want to push back against the corporations and take a stand for the colonies." The room fell silent for a moment before a grizzled man in the corner laughed. "You think a few fighters are going to make a dent in Titan Dynamics or Ferrocore? You'll get yourself killed, lady." "Maybe," Alex said, meeting his gaze. "But I've already taken down one of Titan's strike teams with this ship. Imagine what we could do with more people, more ships." The man's laughter faded, and others in the room began murmuring among themselves. A young woman with cybernetic arms stepped forward. "You're the one they're calling the Martian Ghost, right? The one with that ancient war machine?" Alex nodded. "That's me. And I'm not just looking for fighters. I need engineers, tacticians, anyone willing to fight for something bigger than themselves." One by one, people began stepping forward. By the end of the day, Alex had recruited a small but determined crew, preparing for war. Back on the Resolute, Alex worked tirelessly with her new team. They scoured Rust Point for supplies, upgrading the ship's systems and stockpiling weapons. The plasma cannon was enhanced for greater range, the EMP generator recalibrated for faster recharge, and new drone systems were integrated to provide reconnaissance and support in battle. Her crew included Kale, the cybernetic engineer who had a knack for improvisation and was quickly becoming indispensable; Juno, a former military pilot who brought tactical expertise and a wealth of experience; Drake, the grizzled man from the cantina, who turned out to be an excellent strategist with a sharp mind for guerrilla warfare. Each brought their own skills and perspective, and together, they turned the Resolute into more than just a ship. It was the heart of a movement. The first offensive. Their first mission as a team was to break the blockade around Borealis Station. The station was a critical hub for the colony network, and losing it would cripple the resistance before it had even begun. As the Resolute approached the blockade, Alex gathered her crew in the war room, a small converted space in the ship's belly. A holographic display of the blockade floated in the center, showing 3 corporate frigates and a swarm of smaller patrol ships. "Here's the plan," Alex said, pointing to the hologram. "We'll use the Resolute's EMP generator to disable their communications and sensors. Once they're blind, we'll target the frigate's engines with the plasma cannon. Meanwhile, our drones will focus on the smaller ships, keeping them off our backs. And if they adapt," Drake asked, his arms crossed. "We adapt faster," Alex replied. The battle began with a calculated strike. The Resolute decloaked just outside sensor range, giving Alex enough time to charge the EMP generator. The pulse rippled outward, throwing the corporate fleet into chaos as their systems flickered and failed. "Now!" Alex shouted, gripping the controls. The Resolute surged forward, firing the plasma cannon at the nearest frigate. The beam tore through its engines, leaving the massive ship dead in the water. Kale, manning the drones, directed them to harass the patrol ships, their nimble frames dodging laser fire as they peppered the enemy with precision strikes. "Second frigate incoming," Juno called from the co-pilot seat. "I see it," Alex replied, swinging the Resolute around to face the new threat. She fired another missile, the projectile streaking toward the frigate's bridge. The explosion was enough to force the ship to retreat, leaving the blockade in disarray. Within minutes, the battle was over. The Resolute hovered above the battered corporate fleet, victorious once again. A growing threat. Back on Borealis Station, Alex and her crew were hailed as heroes. The colonists showered them with gratitude, offering supplies and repairs as thanks. But Alex knew the fight was far from over. As they prepared to leave, a message came through on a secure channel. It was from a resistance leader named Elias Vorn, who had been organizing pockets of rebellion across the system. "I've heard about what you've done," Vorn said, his holographic image flickering. "The colonies need more people like you. If you're willing, I'd like to coordinate our efforts." Alex nodded. "We're in. What's the plan?" Vorn's expression darkened. "The corporations aren't going to let this slide. They're already mobilizing a fleet to crush the resistance. If we're going to survive, we need to hit them where it hurts. Then let's do it, Alex said. The road ahead. The Resolute left Borealis Station with a renewed sense of purpose. Alex knew the battles ahead would be harder, the stakes higher. But she also knew she wasn't alone anymore. Her crew, her ship, and the growing resistance gave her hope that they could stand against the corporate juggernaut. As the ship soared into the stars, Alex glanced at her crew, a determined smile on her face. "We started this with a rusty old spacecraft," she said. "Now we're building an army. Let's make them regret underestimating us." The Resolute roared into the void, ready to carve its name into history as the ship that defied impossible odds and gave humanity a fighting chance.